I believe that everyone is operating in good faith, and I just want us to be very careful with that. With that, Ms. Ocasio-Cortez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Earlier, my colleague from Maryland, Mr. Raskin, asked the panel how many people here believe that child separation is an effective policy in deterrence. And no one on the panel raised their hand. I just wanted to note that for the record, Mr. Chair. I wanted to ask a question from Professor Mukherjee. Is the United States violating or violated human rights agreements set by the United Nations in a family separation policy?
Yes. International law is clear that family unity should be prioritized.
So we, as members of the United Nations, signed on into an international human rights agreement saying very clearly that family separation is a violation of international human rights, and then we pursued a policy that violates human rights. Mr. Chair, I was looking, how did we get to this point? How did we get to this point where we take children out of mothers' and fathers' arms? And, it dated back, family separation in the way that we have seen it, where we take children away from their parents without due process, began last year under Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen. But I had to dig further, and our staff dug further. But where did this start within the administration? She implemented it. And we found a memo. It dates back to April 23rd of 2018, where there was an official recommendation to, quote, pursue prosecution of all amenable adults who cross our border, quote, illegally, even though this applied to legal asylum seekers in practice, including those presenting with a family unit between ports of entry in coordination with DOJ. Here is the memo that I would like to submit to the congressional record.
What is the date of that?
It is the memorandum for the Secretary from Homeland Security.
Date.
April 23rd, 2018, subject increasing prosecutions of immigration violations.
Without objection.
And so I looked at this memo, and it seems like this is the source of it. And it seems as though, Mr. Homan, that you are the author. It says here from yourself, Kevin Michalinen, and Francis Cisna. Is this correct? Did you sign the memo?
I'd have to see what you...
Give it
I'd be happy to provide it. And we'll provide it over. But I would like to note that here it says the official recommendation. There were 3 different options presented. The third included the option for family separation. This initiative would pursue prosecution of all amenable adults, including those presenting with a family unit. Mr. Homan, your name is on this. Is this correct?
Yes, I signed that memo.
So you are the author of the family separation policy?
I am not the author of this memo.
You're not the author, but you signed the memo?
Yes, a zero tolerance memo.
So you provided the official recommendation to Secretary Nielsen on for the United States to pursue family separation?
I gave Secretary Nielsen numerous recommendations on how to secure the border and save lives.
But it says here that you gave her numerous options, but the recommendation was option 3, family separation.
What I'm saying, this is not the only paper where we've given the Secretary numerous options to secure the border and save lives.
And so the recommendation, of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommended zero tolerance.
Which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father from his family.
Mr. Homan, with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're into the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum, you go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay. Mr. Chair, the memo is submitted to the record for review. Inspector General Costello, one last thing. Is there a record, based on reports throughout the year, and in our hearing earlier this year, we spoke with Ms. Juarez, a mother who lost her child due to inhumane conditions in the facilities. We learned that there is no accurate record and no policy being held of people who are pregnant and people who endure miscarriages. Is there a record of who enters and leaves these facilities?
I'm not familiar with the instance you're talking about, but I do believe the facilities keep custody logs and logs, but I'm not familiar with the incident you're talking about.
And where would we find those records?
I believe all the facilities keep them on site, CBP and ICE facilities.
And if you believe that the records are not accessible, or if we find that the records are not accessible, do you believe the committee should seek to request records from DHS on the location of children and those that are detained?
Well, we would never opine about what the committee would request and not request. So,
thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ms. Presley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very proud to represent and to call the Massachusetts.
The tension was palpable. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, known for her passionate advocacy, locked horns with Tom Homan, the steely-eyed former acting ICE director. The setting was a House Oversight Committee hearing in 2019. The issue, the Trump administration's zero-tolerance policy, a policy that ripped families apart at the border.
This policy is cruel, inhumane, and a violation of international law.
It is necessary to deter illegal immigration and maintain order at the border.
The exchange was more than just a difference of opinion. It laid bare the deep ideological divide that defines the immigration debate in America. On one side, the unwavering belief in the rule of law, even if it means compromising compassion. On the other, the unwavering commitment to human rights, even if it means navigating complex legal challenges. AOC came armed with facts and fueled by righteous anger. She pointed out that the United States, as a signatory to international human rights agreements, has a legal and moral obligation to keep families together.
Seeking asylum is not a crime, but a fundamental human right enshrined in international law.
Homan countered by drawing parallels to domestic law enforcement.
If a parent is arrested for a crime, it is standard procedure to separate them from their children. The zero-tolerance policy is no different. It's simply enforcing the law.
The back and forth was heated, each side refusing to yield an inch. AOC pressed Homan on the policy's devastating impact on children, the trauma of separation, and the long-term psychological consequences.
What about the children? The trauma, the psychological scars?
The ends justify the means. The policy is necessary to protect our border.
The hearing wasn't just about abstract legal arguments, it was about real people, real families torn apart by a policy that seemed to prioritize deterrence over basic human decency. AOC brought the human cost of zero tolerance into sharp focus.
Children separated from their parents, some as young as toddlers. Parents unable to comfort their children, the fear and confusion in their eyes, and the long-term psychological scars left behind.
Homan, while acknowledging the sensitive nature of separating families, maintained that the policy was necessary to protect the border and deter future illegal immigration.
The fault lies with the parents who broke the law, not with the government enforcing it.
The 2019 clash between AOC and Homan was more than just a heated exchange. It was a microcosm of the deep divisions that plague America's immigration debate. It highlighted the fundamental clash between those who prioritize law enforcement at all costs and those who believe in a more humane approach to immigration. The zero-tolerance policy, despite its widespread condemnation, remains a stark reminder of the human cost of this ideological divide. It is a cautionary tale, a reminder that even in a nation founded on principles of liberty and justice for all, the most vulnerable can become casualties in the pursuit of political agendas. The question remains, can America reconcile its commitment to the rule of law with its conscience? The answer, as this contentious hearing demonstrated, is far from clear.